At the massive international UN conference on climate change in Dubai, the Prime Minister today urged the world to focus on tech transfers, be innovative in energy transition and address the crisis amicably. He suggested that the next climate change summit in 2028 be held in India.
We have to be ambitious. हमें संकल्प लेना होगा कि एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन जस्ट हो, इंक्लूसिव हो, इक्विटेबल हो. वी हैव टू बी इनोवेटिव. हमें ये संकल्प लेना होगा कि इनोवेटिव टेक्नोलॉजी का लगातार विकास करें. अपने स्वार्थ से ऊपर उठकर दूसरे देशों को टेक्नोलॉजी ट्रांसफर करें. आज मैं इस फोरम से एक और प्रो प्लैनेट, प्रोएक्टिव और पॉजिटिव इनिशिएटिव का आह्वान कर रहा हूं. यह है ग्रीन क्रेडिट इनिशिएटिव. यह कार्बन क्रेडिट की कॉमर्शियल मानसिकता से आगे बढ़कर जन भागीदारी से कार्बन सिंक बनाने का अभियान है. मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सब इससे जरूर जुड़ेंगे.
Well, let's go straight across to my colleague Ghazali, who's covering the COP28 meet in Dubai. Ghazali, go ahead.
Okay, so today the Prime Minister addressed the COP28 summit here, and he makes some notable comments. One, which you already mentioned, that how he had proposed that India should be the host in the 2033, after 5 years, the COP33 summit in 2028. India should be hosting the COP33 summit, like that is after 5 years, and also went on providing finance to the developing countries when it comes to mitigate the climate crisis or the climatic changes, and also about how India is one of the least contributors towards the carbon emission, that India only contributes around 4% to the total carbon emissions. I'm joined here by Mr. Harjeet Singh. He is from Climate Action Network, and we'll just speak to him about one initiative which Prime Minister has spoken about, the Green Credit Initiative, that what it means for our viewers. If you can just explain that how notable that initiative is.
Sure. So there is already a concept of carbon credit, which is linked to reducing carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases. Basically, it's about creating certificates based on the reduced emissions, and these certificates are then traded in the market. Green credits actually go beyond carbon credits, and the scope is much wider in terms of also preserving wildlife or preventing air and water pollution. But the challenge is these are all market-based solutions. And so far in the world, we have not seen market solutions really having an impact. And we have found wherever we had better regulation in fossil fuel companies or other polluting industries, we have always been able to see a lot better result to reduce emissions and protect the environment.
Okay, what are your key takeaways from PM's speech today and address today as far as the climate crisis is concerned?
So PM very rightfully told the entire world that India is leading when it comes to renewable energy, and we are on target, what we committed several years ago, including at COP26. At the same time, rich countries have to provide finance. And it's also going to triple its renewable energy target by 2030, which is quite similar to what we committed at COP26 in 2021. So it's quite encouraging that India is leading. And of course, what we need is more finance. If we get more international support, we'll be able to do much more.
And last question, that loss and damage fund has been operationalized. That's one of the major breakthroughs of the summit on the initial stage. What other major breakthroughs or major steps could be taken, if you think, from the global perspective in this summit?
So loss and damage funds operationalization definitely is historic. Of course, we are not fully happy because there are many more elements that need to be strengthened. But here we are also going to have an agreement on the global stocktake, which is about looking at why we have landed here, what's missing, and what more needs to be done in terms of improving our climate action plans, or what we call NDCs. And we will also see a decision on finance. That's going to be absolutely critical, and particularly on phasing out fossil fuels. That means coal, oil, and gas.
Okay, so he says that the major issues which needs to be addressed is about finance and how to phase out the non-renewable sources of energy when it comes to fight against the climate crisis.
To state that climate change is upon us is stating the obvious. The impact of extreme weather events are all too evident in India. Floods, heavy rainfall, higher glacial melt in the Himalayas and the sudden appearance of cyclones in the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal are visible reminders. The world is hotter now than ever before, and the goal of limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius is the key agenda of COP28, the United Nations Climate Change Conference now taking place in Dubai. Key to ensuring that this happens is to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. It's a battle to save our globe as we know it, a battle where stark differences between the global north and global south need to be overcome for there to be sustainable success. In the entire north versus south debate, consider a few facts. Europe's per capita investment in renewable energy was 41 times higher than sub-Saharan Africa, which raises the question, who is going to invest in economically challenged areas? Developed countries provided only $29 billion in adaptation finance to developing countries despite the projected need of $340 billion by 2030. Africa has 40% of the world's solar potential, but only 2% of installed capacity because of a lack of investments. China and the US generated 4.4 times and 2.2 times more electricity, respectively, from fossil fuels than India in 2020. Do we not have a booming economy and population to fuel? And yet India's 5 mm PTA green hydrogen production target by 2030 is world-class, higher in fact than developed nations such as Denmark and Sweden. The transition to clean energy generates jobs. For example, energy-efficient cooling tech in India could create an investment opportunity of $1.6 trillion. It could create 3.7 million new jobs by 2040. The impact of climate change, as we mentioned earlier, is catastrophic. Here's another example. In just 4 months last year, floods in Pakistan displaced 32 million people, equivalent to nearly 50% of the displacement caused by World War II in Europe. And yet, emerging economies have only 6% disaster risk coverage, while advanced economies have a whopping 35%. All right, COP28 absolutely critical for billions around the world. Back home, days after exit polls, there is political posturing. Perhaps predictably, both the Congress and the BJP assert that they will be winning. The exit polls predict a photo finish in Telangana. 3 exit polls gave the Congress a definitive edge. Exit polls have predicted a change in Rajasthan. There's a high possibility the BJP might just win once again in MP. The Congress is set to retain Chhattisgarh. This is what some of the broad trends are. A new player may form the government in Mizoram.
I'm joined by somebody who has been really campaigning through the thick and breadth of the entire desert state of Rajasthan. And so how do you view the entire exit poll results?
See, I don't trust on exit poll results, and I even don't rely. Because I have seen the elections from the ground zero. और मैंने तो जितना इलेक्शन में लोगों का उत्साह देखा है, जितना लोगों को वोकल होकर के सरकार को बदलते हुए देखा है, it's absolutely inevitable that BJP is coming into power with a thumping majority. It's my strong conviction.
When you say that, sir, given the fact that sometimes if it is a razor-thin majority looking for independence, how do you view that?
It is not going to happen. We will be forming a complete government with a full majority and strong majority.
We have with us Karnataka DCM, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Sir, first of all, congratulations to you. The exit polls pointing to Congress victory in Telangana.
See, I don't, personally, I don't believe in any exit poll. This is my personal opinion.
Right.
Personal opinion. Because when I do a survey, I take a sample of more than 1 lakh in every assembly segment. That is what my personal experience is. In earlier elections also, in my last Karnataka elections also, I do it. But what media takes a sample size of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, that will not work. And we keep a record of all the people who speak, either on the phone or personally, we keep a record. That is how we try to take very accurate. But I could see that in Telangana and the other states, there is a big wave. They wanted a change. They wanted a Congress party. to come to power in Madhya Pradesh or Telangana. I hope it will happen.
Well, my colleague Uma Sudhir joins us. Uma, it's going to be exciting times on Sunday, but before that, I suppose all political parties are duty bound to say that they haven't lost, right? Is that the sense you're getting in Telangana?
Absolutely. BRS and Mr. K.T. Ramarao and all senior leaders still insisting that they're going to have a big win in Telangana, despite the fact that all the exit polls now seem to indicate that it is going to be the Congress, which is going to be the biggest party certainly, and hoping certainly to form the government. But I must also add a rider saying that senior Congress leaders themselves say that even though the magic figure is 60, they do not believe 60 or 62 or 63 is safe enough for them to be able to form a government. They do realize that they possibly need up to a 70 to be able to safely say that they are indeed going to form the government in Telangana. Having said that, I must say, if KCR is losing, in fact, it is a vote for change, but not necessarily because his development plank or his welfare plank has failed, but because he fell short of expectations. His MLAs are facing a huge amount of anti-incumbency, allegations of corruption, and I must also say that the arrogance, the perception of arrogance, perception that he is not accessible has not worked for the BRS and for the Congress. I would say this is not really a positive vote for the Congress, because if you are talking about the guarantees, the BRS did have a spread out of guarantees which was well covered for all segments of the population, but I must say that many factors conspired to make it happen for the Congress, and they exploited it to full potential. The going down of the BJP in terms of its popularity graph, the Congress used that opportunity, was able to draw back its leaders who had left the Congress, which was largely absent in the electoral arena for the last in the public arena, largely even in the opposition space for the last 4 years, I must say. And Revant Reddy coming as PCC chief really did help. All Congress leaders giving credit to the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Of course, all of us do know that it helped Rahul Gandhi do an image makeover post his Yatra. But I must point out that when a Munugod bipoll was happening and the Bharat Jodo Yatra was passing through Telangana, he bypassed it, and the Congress candidate actually had done very badly in that election. She actually lost her deposit.
All right, Uma, we leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us. The 41 workers who were trapped in the Uttarakhand tunnel for 17 days are finally heading home to joyous and emotional relatives. Some of them have already reached, while the others will get their latest bite tomorrow morning. We have accessed exclusive images and videos of how the workers killed time before a multi-agency rescue operation was finally able to free them.
A joyous, emotional homecoming for the 41 workers who were trapped in the Uttarakhand tunnel for 17 days before being evacuated in a multi-agency rescue operation that became successful after rat hole miners dug a hole through. As the workers came home, NDTV accessed exclusive images of the 17 days they spent inside the collapsed tunnel. Videos show piles of fruits, more than they could consume, and plastic bottles that appear to be taped up. These were pushed into the tunnel through a pipe. The bottles were used to provide dry fruits and hot meals to the trapped workers. In photos, the workers can be seen enjoying meals including roti, vegetables and rice.
17 दिन ऐसे लगा सर कि अब एक हिसाब से ये समझ लो कि मौत के बराबर ही थी वो 17 दिन। टाइम पास करने के लिए जो भी बचपन में खेल खेलते हैं, राजा रानी का एक चोर सिपाही का खेल नहीं होता, वो सब खेला करते थे वहाँ पे। घर वाले को टेंशन ये था कि घर वाले कैसे होंगे, क्या कर रहे होंगे, मेरे बारे में क्या सोच रहे होंगे कि मैं जिंदा हूँ भी या नहीं हूँ।
In Lucknow, UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath met with the 8 workers from the state who are now back home with their families. In Bihar, there were tears of joy as the workers from the state were reunited with their near and dear ones. With Nukul Jashoria, Tanishq Punjabi and Manish Kumar, Bureau Report, NDTV.
In a first for the Indian Navy, a woman will command a fast attack craft, a small armed ship used for quick reaction operations to intercept targets which can include terrorists, smugglers or others. It's a landmark development announced by the Navy Chief ahead of Navy Day.
We have also appointed the first woman commanding officer of an Indian naval ship. It has been our effort to constantly challenge the status quo to ensure that the Navy remains on an aspirational and dynamic trajectory to the future.
An enforcement directorate officer working in Madurai in Tamil Nadu has been arrested for allegedly taking a 20 lakh rupee bribe. The officer in question was investigating a disproportionate income case involving a government doctor in the neighbouring Dindigul district. The police believe that the officer, identified as Ankit Tiwari, demanded a bribe of 1 crore to have the case dropped. I'm joined by my colleague Sam Daniel for more on this. Sam, what exactly is the allegation? What exactly was this man after?
Vishnu, the Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption officials in Tamil Nadu say that it was a trap case after a government doctor from Dindigul district had filed a complaint that this enforcement directorate officer is demanding a huge bribe to relieve him from a disproportionate assets case he was fighting. And accordingly, a trap was laid. He was given 20 lakh rupees and the officials caught him red-handed when he had collected the money on a highway in his car. It was a car chased by DVSA officials, and as we speak now, a short while ago, officials from DVSA also had searched the officer's table at the Enforcement Directorate's office in Madurai, besides his home. And this interestingly comes at a time when the Tamil Nadu government is at loggerheads with the Enforcement Directorate for summoning 5 district collectors in Tamil Nadu over allegations of money laundering with proceeds of money from illegal sand mining case, and the court had recently given a stay on that. So far there's no response from the ruling DMK or from the family or the lawyer of this particular officer, who has been identified as Ankit Tiwari, working for the ED in Madurai. This is the first of its case, at least for Tamil Nadu. Vishnu.
All right, Sam, we leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us. In other news, a major female feticide ring in Karnataka has been exposed as a result of an accidental vehicle check in Bengaluru. On the 15th of October, police stopped a suspicious car and questioned 2 people inside who have now confessed to being a part of a gang that's been involved in over 240 illegal abortions, 900 sex determination tests.
A suspiciously moving vehicle caught the attention of Baipanahalli police in Bengaluru on October 15th. 2 of the suspects in the car allegedly confessed to being part of the illegal female feticide ring operating out of Mysuru and Mandya. After arresting 9 of the 11 accused persons involved, the Bengaluru police spoke to the media on November 28th.
Illegal, unauthorized examination testing of the letter of the we have arrested 9 persons so far. Out of the accused, 3 lab technicians, 2 lab workers, 2 brokers and 2 hospital managers have been involved. And the accused belong basically to Mysore and Mandya districts.
Karnataka Health Minister Dinesh Gundu visited the scanning center and Mata hospital that operated illegally for 3 years, carrying out over 200 abortions and over 900 sex determination tests. He suspended the district and taluk health officers for dereliction of duty. But is that enough?
Taking this. So we are going to form a small team for that to look into all the aspects, whether we need to increase, also strengthen the law, how we can add in some more provisions in the law which can actually strengthen and hold, suppose if we book them and book cases against them, it should stand up in court, they should get convicted. So, we are looking at that process also.
The police have launched a manhunt to nab the remaining culprits, while the government of Karnataka has decided to hand over the case to the CID. The modus operandi was this. The 2 brokers were on the hunt for pregnant ladies who were not wanting to have a girl child or were in fear of having one. They were taken to the scanning center for a sex determination test, which was followed by an illegal termination of pregnancy. We are talking of the 21st century, and the existence of such mindsets has sent shockwaves in the IT capital. With camera person Govind, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Every day we use technology to make our lives easier one way or the other, whether it's following the news on the internet, booking transport, groceries and movie tickets through various apps, or communicating with friends over social media. But what about those who cannot hear, cannot see or cannot speak? Samarth by Hyundai is a movement to create better accessibility for people with disabilities. Today we take a look at accessibility in the virtual world.
Avnish Singh is the first visually impaired person from India elected on the advisory board of World Wide Web Consortium. The W3C is an organization that sets international standards for the World Wide Web. Avnish is working on developing strategy to make information and knowledge accessible for persons with disabilities. He's been working in the field of technology for the last 17 years.
तो एक्सेसिबल वेबसाइट एक वो वेबसाइट होती है जिसको पीपल विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ बहुत आराम से बहुत फ्लुएंटली यूज़ कर पाते हैं। ये एक्सेसिबल वेबसाइट कोई स्पेशल वेबसाइट नहीं होती, उसमें वही HTML CSS कोड होता है, वही जावास्क्रिप्ट होती है जो आम वेबसाइट पे होती है। हम बस ये इंश्योर करते हैं कि जो उसके अंदर टेक्स्ट कंपोनेंट हैं वो आपके स्पीच के अंदर कन्वर्टेबल हों।
People are not just born with disabilities. They can be disabled by accidents or illness. There can also be age-related issues with vision, hearing, speech or mobility. Accessible websites and apps therefore can be used by more than 2.2% of the Indian population who have disabilities.
अगर हम देखें इंडिया के अंदर more than 90% वेबसाइट्स जो है वो एक्सेसिबल नहीं है। सिचुएशन यूरोप में USA में बहुत बेहतर है क्योंकि वहाँ पे लीगल स्ट्रक्चर बहुत बेटर है। USA के अंदर फेडरल गवर्नमेंट के एक रूल है कि अगर आप किसी भी यूनिवर्सिटी को या फेडरल एजेंसी को गवर्नमेंट ऑफ यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स से फंडिंग मिल रही है तो उन सारे प्रोडक्ट्स सारी सर्विसेज 100% एक्सेसिबल चाहिए। इस वजह से वो कंट्रीज कहीं आगे हैं और इंडिया एक्सेसिबल वेबसाइट में बहुत पीछे है।
In fact, research and data suggests that the global population of people with disabilities and their immediate circle of families and friends hold more than $6 trillion in disposable income. Clearly, there is also an economic benefit to make accessible apps and websites.
Text-to-speech reader for the blind.
It calls for integrating assistive technology through various techniques and tools used by people with disabilities to interact with the web, including web browser settings, text-to-speech, voice recognition, braille computers and keyboards, head and eye movement input tools, and much more. What's lacking then?
इंडिया के अंदर बहुत कंपनीज हैं जो कि एक्सेसिबल वेबसाइट, एक्सेसिबल बुक्स, एक्सेसिबल पब्लिकेशंस बना रही हैं और इंडिया की बाहर की कंपनीज को सप्लाई कर रही हैं। नॉलेज की कमी नहीं है लेकिन विल पावर की कमी है, अवेयरनेस की कमी है। अवेयरनेस बहुत ज़रूरी है पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया।
Search. 2 unread messages. Apps and websites have enormous potential to empower the disabled. However, if they are not designed with their needs in mind, they can be as much of a barrier as the physical ones that the disabled otherwise face.
43 unread messages.